Alright folks, my name is Freyn and this is the Rhyniognatha added to Ark earlier this evening, brand new, and today we're going to go over and have a look at various abilities, how to tame it, where to find it, all that stuff. So yeah, let's dive straight in. Obviously the first thing you will need to know is where to find it. Now it only spawns on two maps at the moment, that's the island and Lost Island. It does seem to be primarily in the swamps. I have seen one in the redwoods on the island, but given the close proximity to the swamp on the island, it likely simply chased a creature out and crossed the border. Here you can see a little green mark for every single place I've seen one of them spawn. I did multiple wipes and map resets, and this is every single spot that one appeared. All of them fall within the swamp, so obviously the logical conclusion is it only spawns in the swamp, which I've highlighted in red. They also seem to be incredibly rare spawns. I only ever saw one at a time. Maybe more would spawn if I left the map open for long enough, but that's still on par with something like the Giga or the Car, so not going to be a very common sight. And that's going to make the taming just a little bit harder. Here we have a nice high-level trike ready to be impregnated by our Rhino, but before we can do that, we need to feed it this Pheromone, and you only get that from killing another Rhino. So we have to find two, and hopefully the low-level one first. So we pop that in, we feed it, and it'll start giving off this red glow. And now we need a female Rhino, which we need to lower its health first before it will do anything that we want it to do. If you've ever tamed a Reaper, it's like that. You have to get it down to about 10% or lower before it will try and impregnate anything. So I'm using a shotgun for this, obviously nice and simple. The hardest part is honestly just telling what health it's got. I couldn't get close enough for a magnifying glass check on this, and it's actually really hard to see the blood on a lot of the colour combinations this was spawning at. It took me quite a few tries because of this, because I kept accidentally killing it. Getting it nice and low, and then it takes off. Bit more sap, as they seem to like doing, and then here comes the animation, big swirl, tail whip, and there you go. Our trike is pregnant. You can start planning your gender reveals and baby showers right away. Now there doesn't seem to be an upper limit to what can be impregnated by this. I don't know if there's a lower one. I used a trike because that's what the spotlight video showed, but I've also tried a Rex and a Giga, although I obviously wouldn't recommend that one because when the baby is born, it kills the creature that was carrying it. But now we move on to the next stage, of course, which is the gestation and growth. Now I noticed during the gestation that the food bar was constantly being drained, and I kept trying to feed it because I was afraid it was going to die before the baby was born. I'm not sure if this is actually necessary. It might be perfectly timed to reduce the health down at the exact amount to die during birth. I don't know, but I wanted to err on the side of caution. My gestation time was about 47 minutes, but I was playing with 5 times taming and 10 times hatching speed. I'm not sure actually which of those was applying here. I assume the hatching, but that's quite a long incubation time on the baby. Now there was also a cravings timer during all of this. It was about 7 minutes on my settings. I don't know if any of the settings actually impact that, but it was about every 7 minutes. And I'm not entirely sure what the cravings was doing. I had a 150 trike here that was tamed up to 225, and then that was impregnated by a 150 Rhino. And even though I did every single one of its cravings during that timer, it still only came out at 107. Maybe a longer gestation time would have allowed more cravings and that would have boosted its level. I don't know. But for a control, I also never did the cravings on the Rex. Now that came out at a much lower level, but the Rex itself was also a much lower level, so it's honestly hard to tell. But these cravings are expensive. Every 7 minutes it wanted something. This first one here is a shadow steak saute. But between mine, they also wanted a Quetzal egg, a Giga egg, element, and some absorbent substrate. It wasn't exactly cheap and easy stuff to get hold of that you've just got lying around your base ready to go. Now I can only assume that this does affect the level. That means if you want a high level one of these, not only have you then got to find one to kill first and then find the high level to do the impregnation, and risk killing it in the process, but you've then got to have some really expensive things to feed your creature as it's growing. But the moment has come, it's time for the birth. You're finally going to get your Rhino. Let's just hope it was all worth it as you say goodbye to your previous creature. Use a throwaway tame, honestly. Tame something, get a high level, but just not something you care about, or something you can breed a new one of. Because there it goes, and there's the Rhino. Bit small because it's only 30% grown. You get your nice dossier pop up, and yeah, now comes what seems to be an incredibly long wait. Now, my settings on this single player were on normal imprinting time, and that's given me 8 hours. And it's not imprinted at all so far, so that's not what the Cravings was for either. That's not given as an imprint. Reasonable stats, so at least reasonable health. Pretty low stamina, but good health for a level 107. But only 30% grown, and it seemed to be growing pretty slowly considering I am on a 10 times growth speed. So there we have it, our baby. For a giant bug, it's actually not that bad. You know, I was expecting something slightly more horrifying. I kind of like it. But obviously, there's a long time here of waiting for the baby to grow up, so let's just skip ahead and get to the adult form and see what it can do. Before we go anywhere, of course, we're going to need a saddle. It unlocks at level 90 and costs 30 crystal, 200 fibre, 150 hide, 150 metal, and 60 polymer. And once you mount it up, you have a wonderful, handy little list of abilities down in the bottom corner. We can carry a character, which I presume means another player, as I couldn't seem to get that to work on anything. You can toggle your resin armor, toggle between 3 different ammo types. You can carry creatures, you can taunt, you can shoot, and you can melee. Now, the taunt, well, it actually seems to be the opposite of a taunt. It seems to scare things away. You can see the Trike and Galley just running off into the distance there. And to use a lot more of the abilities, we will need to give our Rhino some sap, which it will convert passively into resin in its inventory. It's not crazy quick, but I wouldn't exactly call it slow. But that resin is used, obviously, for the 3 different types of ammo and for the armor. I did some testing with the armor here using a Giga. It's 400 damage per bite without it, 220 with, and it was instantly applied. That's a 45% damage reduction, and of course you also get saddle armor in addition to that. It doesn't drain the resin per hit, it's just drained at a fixed rate over time, so definitely worth using your armor if you've got any spare sap lying around. Now when it comes to the ammunition, that obviously uses the resin as well. There's 3 types. The first of which seems to be this sort of arrowhead icon if you look in the lower left part of the screen. That's doing 75 damage per hit, and it doesn't seem to increase with the melee damage stat. Now if you hold down the fire button, you essentially become some sort of flying gun turret, which can be pretty effective even if the shots aren't doing a huge amount of damage per hit. They rack up quite fast. Second ammo type is more of a blob. Bit more damage, but draining the resin at a higher rate. It is, however, stacking up. You can see that those little dots above the target. Oh, you can't now. You could see those little dots above the target on the trike. There we go. That's showing how much sap is on it. Once you hit the end of that bar, the target can't move. It can still attack, but it can't move. Now, if you hold down the fire button with this ammo type, and then hover over a creature, you will get a targeting ring, line up your crosshair, and you actually get a homing shot. Don't ask me how this makes sense, you know, a creature firing homing ammunition, but that's what you've got available to you. The third ammo type is this. Again, costs much more resin to fire, but it seems to do very small damage over time, and it's a large slowing sort of area. It's sort of almost a little tar pit for things to get stuck in, and of course adding to that sap. Now, big question for a lot of people is what can you pick up? Rexes were shown in the little spotlight video, so we know they're in. But here we go, confirming. You can definitely pick up Rexes. You can also carry Diplos, which are, you know, a higher drag weight than a Rex, so that's something fairly big. But you can't carry Gigas. I did try. Gigas, Brontos are still a no-go. Also, Rock Golems, another one I tried. They're too big as well. But Diplos and Rexes both can be carried around. I don't have an extensive list of what structures can be picked up. I know for certain the vault, but I couldn't get it to pick up a turret. I didn't actually try anything else. It's getting very late at this point in the evening. I am in the UK, and this was dropped very, very late on. But you can pick up a vault, and by pressing the pickup key again, you can actually place it from up here as well. But I couldn't seem to grab a turret. I don't know if any other workbenches or storage boxes or anything like that can be picked up, but the vault for certain, we know. Now, as an added little bonus, you can also take this thing underwater. Most of your abilities won't work down there, but it's not exactly a slouch at swimming. Oh, I probably wouldn't risk trying to take on too many creatures. And that just about covers it. The only thing left is the mobility. This thing can go at the full range of movement exactly the same as a Tapejara or a Griffin. You can go up, down, left, right, you know, you can strafe, you can go backwards, you can do whatever you want. And you can also grapple onto the side of cliffs in the same way that the Tapejara can. So there was only one thing left to test, which was how does the speed compare to other creatures? And the best thing I could think of to test that was, can I outrun an angry wyvern from the trench? And the answer is yes, easily outstrips that wyvern. It had no hope of catching up. And then I could just sit here and fire away at it. Obviously, going to take a long time to kill one with only 75 damage. Yeah. Extremely maneuverable, very good late game flyer. I'm not sure about how well it will fare in the damage department, but you've got good defenses, you've got great maneuverability, you can pick up a lot of problem creatures and just get them out of the way. But it will be an absolute bitch to tame a high level one, I suspect. But that about covers it for the Rhino. Thank you all for watching. If you have made it this far, I hope it's been informative to you. Let me know if there's anything that is wrong here. If you see them in other biomes, for instance, especially, let me know, and we'll keep the description updated. If you would like to see more art from me, we are currently in the middle of a YouTube series on Lost Island with myself and a friend playing co-op there. It's my first time on the map and his first time in Ark, so it's been a lot of fun. Hopefully we will see you again. If you have enjoyed, please do consider like and subscribe. It all helps support the channel. But that wraps it up for today, so I will see you all next time. Bye bye!